Hey guys, welcome back to another NRL fantasy video. We're here with Footy Brains Pod. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Will another week. I'm kind of ruining some missed opportunities last week, especially with the Fifita news and how good Couchman went. But hoping to make that up this week.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways you could have gone last week, and some were right, some were not. But
Yeah, I think with the news with Fifita, it just kind of it kind of threw everyone's trades out a bit, especially with Fifita and Campbell, right? Because
yeah,
he was ruled out late. But yeah, plenty of moves
well,
to make this week.
I had no Campbell from the start, and I went Jacob Preston over Fifita, so I'm pretty happy with that there. How do
Yeah,
you think
cheering.
my current side's looking?
Yeah, mate, your team's looking like just awesome, to be honest. Katoa is a crazy good pod. He's been kind of consistent over the last couple of weeks and killing it for the Finns. Papenhuyzen been doing well. Very interested with Meany back this week to see if he'll retain the kicking. Mate, you got a few good pods there, and Ponga just hoping for a bounce back now with Lucas back in the team.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, and yeah, not much. I think there's a couple of players that could be in a chopping block soon. Stafford, Toa, maybe one of them, Tom Jenkins, but I want to give Toa another week to see how he goes with Galvin there on that Galvin edge.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd assume now that Galvin's back, there's going to be more ball going that edge, and yeah, he definitely activated Toa a lot better when Galvin was in the squad. So yeah, we'll see
Yeah,
how that goes.
but the rest of the players, I think we'll pretty much talk about. So the first one here is probably my cash cow of the week, Hugo Savala. Break even of free now. You've seen he's gone back to back 30s there. Do you think Hugo's close to a must have this week?
Yeah, he's probably the best cash down option. Well, obviously the best cash down option there is. He'll play in the halves. He'll get you like he's only going to give you kick meters and some tackles. He'll give you 30 every week. But what more could you ask for at 230K? If he gets you 30 every week, he'll make another 100 to 200K, depending on if he has some, maybe a couple of 40s in there as well. But he's not going to be anything crazy good. But yeah, for 230K, you take that every week just so you can upgrade somewhere else in your squad.
Yeah, and he looks like a very good tackler too. But do you think that he could win the spot over Sandon Smith when Walker is back?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? I actually think Saval is more of the controlling half, doing a lot more of the kicking. I don't think he probably makes a
Mm.
great six, but I still think Walker's a while away anyway. So I don't think there's going to be a huge issue there. Savala will make his cash, and you'll probably be offloading him before Walker even comes in anyway.
Yeah, I think it's one just with all the kicking in play there too, and I think it's
Yeah,
almost a no-brainer. Pretty good draw in the next two of Dragons and Dolphins before coming into that bye. So for me, Savala is a very strong buy this week.
yep.
And yeah, a guy that I brought in my team this week, we all know what he can do when he's playing at wing, isn't he? Yes, playing at wing. When I'm playing on the wing, he has an average of over 60 minutes. He's an average of 43.8. That dual position there, do you think that he again is close to a must-have with a very good buy schedule, playing all major buy rounds and just having so much cover there?
Yeah, I wouldn't say must have, but he's definitely like a very strong pot option, Kiraz. And if you look at his average over the last 2 years, it actually increases closer to 50, which is even
Yeah.
better. He's just getting stronger in this Dogs team. He has been playing center a lot, but I think his play on the wing is a lot better because he gets through a lot more meters, just returning the football from long kicks and getting more opportunity to score tries in this Bulldogs team as well is going to be huge for him. So yeah, I rate Kiraz as a bit of a pod play this week. He's just so expensive at 640K. You'd hope that that'd be, closer to 600, if not just dipping under. But yeah, you've got to pay for the quality of him. So yeah,
Yeah,
good
and
buy.
for me, their next five runs pretty good there with the Broncos who have shown glimpses that they are beatable, and then you got Gold Coast, Canberra, Roosters, and Dolphins who look like they all could be bottom eight sides there. The Dogs on fire, and Matt Burton back. I do think that for Kiraz, he could do very well this week.
Yeah, dogs are absolutely wheels up. Got all their major guns back, and yeah, they're looking good being undefeated this year. So you can't really bet against them at the moment.
Yeah, and loves offloading the football too there, doesn't he?
Yeah, it was crazy just watching. He was just touching players for tackle busts and then just offloading the ball from nowhere, Kiraz over the weekend. So like, yeah, he's going to do that every week.
He probably owns himself in his fantasy team.
Yeah, exactly. He's thinking of the stats.
Yeah. And I captained him last week. I think it was a no-brainer. For me, I was looking at these stats. He has shown a couple more signs of coming back. He has been a little bit unlucky, like those 56 and 63s, like they're not terrible scores. I do think the people that sold him, it was a bit reactive there, but he played incredible. The Panthers looked back, a better draw here. Do you think it's one that with that break even now low, if you don't own him, you would buy him, or is Origin too close and that round 11 buy kind of makes him don't buy until after Origin?
Nah, you buy him no matter what, and at
Yeah,
750k, he's only going to get more expensive now. Like he'll shoot up to above 800k in no time. You have to get him in, even with Origin. You just have to park him on your emergencies while he's out, because in between you'll get a few games out of him. Depending on their buy schedule. The Panthers, I think they're out for two of the major buys, so he probably won't play a few games. But you've got to have Cleary, and at 750k, that's so cheap for a half of his quality. I mean, you look at the stats there. His games where he has gone big is where he's had his regular kick meters. Like you look at rounds, 6 and round 2, the two games where he's gone, a 50 and a 60. The outlier there is obviously the first game against the Sharks in Vegas, but that was a bit of a different one. But like his kick meters, up around 600 kick meters a game is where you want him to be kicking to get the big scores. And yeah, he needs to hit that more often. But yeah, he's a shoe-in to be one of the best halves of fantasy this year again.
yeah, he's done it for so many years. And if you brought at the start of the season, if Nathan Cleary is 750k, you'd call us stupid for not buying him.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also feel that they needed this one win under their belt, kind of get confidence back for them. And I do feel that now the Penrith will be up and running. They looked incredible on the weekend in that 40-12 victory, was it? I think, or let's have a look. 40
Yeah,
40-12 there. They looked incredible. And
solid win.
I think now they've got Manly, who have, again, like all three of these teams have shown signs that they can leak points. And I do think Penrith will, my prediction is they're back, top 14.
Yeah, I like it was only going to be a matter of time, right? So they actually
Yeah.
get a win and they start to get on a roll again. I don't know if it's going to be like one after the other, like winning every game, but I think they'll sneak into the 8 even with this form slump, to be honest. So
Yeah. And Nathan's just so good. I think it's one that you got to have. But
correct.
one that I'm looking at for my our Fantasy Fanatics team is Dylan Lucas, just so good when playing. You've seen 57 and 66, pretty much all in base there. Do you have any interest, or is that hamstring just too worrying for you that you probably want to give him another week?
Yeah, you look at NRL Physio and his stats on players returning from hamstring injuries. It's 30% recurrence rate of injury, and that's why I'm scared off Dylan Lucas. And to be honest, for Fifita this week, I want to give it at least another week or two. But for Lucas, it also means that you're going to miss out on his price because he's got a break even of 40, I think it is, on the fantasy site, and he'll probably easily hit that given his form before he injured himself. So yeah, it's one you kind of have to jump onto now if you want him, because he's not really going to drop in price anytime soon.
Yeah, I probably reckon you give it a week. Maybe you take him at 710k in your
Yeah.
centers. He's probably going to be a keeper there and plays around 12 and 15. So you can kind of just set him in there as a set and forget, not as a set and forget center for those bye weeks there.
Yeah, he's the same player as Firma is. Like when he plays on an edge, you can lock him into a center spot. He'll give you a good 50 every week, and you don't even need to think about him really, other than buys. Like, yeah, he's the perfect player to have.
Yeah, and they've got a pretty decent draw coming up too, where he could get a couple attacking stats there.
Yeah, they only have one. The Knights only have one buy, I think, over the Origin period. Correct me if I'm wrong, and it's a major buy. So I think they'll be fine until round 17. Is it? I think
Yeah,
their buys in round 18.
18, yeah.
Yeah.
Who
So yeah, absolutely. You'd lock him in and not even think about it. It's just the cash, obviously, that's the sticking point at 700k. But yeah, you'd happily have him in your team as long as he doesn't re-injure his hammy.
Do you think they rushed him back now that they're in such bad form? Because they had back-to-back wins when he was playing in the first two rounds, and I think they haven't won a game since then. So do you think they're rushing him back, or do you reckon he's properly fit and he's ready to go?
Yeah. I don't know if they rushed him back. He was still out for 5 weeks.
Yeah, not
Correct me if I'm
rushed,
wrong.
but
5.5 weeks because he injured himself midweek at training. Um, I think that's enough time to get over a hammy. It obviously depends on the grade of hamstring injury he had and how well he rehabbed it. But yeah, fingers crossed he's all good to go. But you never know, right? It could just be one wrong stride in this game and yeah, he's out again for another couple of weeks. But yeah,
yeah,
we'll see.
it's a risk I think that's willing to take.
Yeah.
So Dylan Egan, why does he keep getting listed on the bench and then change to second row on game day?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think they're going to do that this week, to be honest, with Gula back. I don't think they need Leilua to play through the middle. They still could, and maybe give JDB a bit of a rest at lock and switch around the forwards a little bit. But I tend to think they're going to stick with Egan as a bench forward from now on, now that they've got Gula back. Probably means that we see a dip in his scores, because when he was playing on an edge to start and then moving through the lock rotation when JDB took a break, oh, he was just eating through the tackles, and it was great to see all the base stats coming through. But I don't think that's realistic going forward. I think we'll probably see him dip a little bit, but he's still going to keep making cash, still cheap. I
Yeah,
just think if you don't have him now, you probably miss the boat at this point.
yeah, he'll probably still get 40s there, and with that break even of -3, he'll probably get up 600K there, but he'll way too expensive to be bringing in a bench player.
Yeah, I think at this point, yeah, you've probably missed it. Unfortunately, if you buy into him now, you get one price rise of maybe 60 to 70K, and then you're looking at maybe 10 to 15 over the next week or two, and that's pretty much him done his
Yeah,
dash,
but
unless he can break into the starting team
yeah,
again.
if he keeps starting like that
Yeah.
late game day switch, do you think that that's one that you'll look at buying if you don't already own him?
Yeah, if he makes that switch again, especially with Gula back, I think you'd still buy into him if you didn't have him. But you have to wait until what's the second game?
Yeah,
I think
second
it's
game.
yeah. So you've got to wait until you make that trade really, until you see the 20, not the 24-hour team list, the 1 hour team list before
Yeah,
kickoff.
but I don't think many people are trading Dogs or Broncos players.
Yeah, no,
So
there's not
Toby
many.
Couchman has been killing it this season. I'm glad I picked him up when I did in that game against the Storm there. Do you think that Toby is a must-have now and will be one of the best middles?
Yeah, fuming I didn't pick him up last week. He's held that starting spot with Gula back, and yeah, he is a must-have. In my opinion, he's just chewing through base stats, plenty of tackles through the middle as well. The only question was that he was potentially origin bound, but it's a bit hard to see at the moment what the teams are going to look like for Origin. So I think I'd still be comfortable bringing him in. 750K is a hefty price to pay if you don't have him already, which I'm unfortunately going to be paying this week. But yeah, the fact that he's getting 60s starting pretty comfortably, you kind of have to bring him in.
Yeah, that New South Wales pack will be interesting. I think they got so many forwards though that are quality. That Toby is a quality forward, but he's probably a year or two off maybe breaking through to that
Yeah,
team.
he is close though. He's very close, and he will
Yeah,
be considered for sure if he keeps the same form up.
but in round 12 you missed him anyway, so it doesn't
Yeah,
really matter if he makes that Origin. Like he's only going to come off the bench and play 30-ish minutes there probably. So
yeah, he'll just miss the Broncos game if he's named because that's the game before Origin
yeah,
as well, right? Yeah.
um, he's been killing it. Like I think he could be close to the best mid this year if he keeps going at this rate.
Yep. Yeah, he's up there with Haas and May at the moment,
65 average.
unfortunately.
Yeah, 65 average is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Dave Fifita, 23 break even. You saw him come back to his gun scoring against the Dragons with no tries there. He was one that I think if he was starting last week, I think everyone did. He was a must-have. I think he
Yep.
got brought in by 11% of teams. Then he got ruled out with that 1 week hamstring injury that people were saying was going to be 4 weeks. Back this week off the bench. Do you think there'll be a potential late switch? And do you think that if there is it one that you're going to look at buying?
God, if there's a late switch, that's really gonna hurt a lot of teams because I think a lot of people would have picked up, the likes of Couchman or Kiraz or someone else, to be honest, in their team before you get to the Titans playing on the Saturday. So it means you kind of ruled out of being able to pick up Fifita. At the moment, considering he's off the bench, I don't think you can touch him because it was a hamstring injury. If it was a bit of an ankle niggle and he was just being rested a little bit last week, I could understand still picking him up this week and just riding through him being on the bench for a little bit. But the fact that it was a hamstring issue and that could be recurring, I am a bit hesitant to pick him up this week. I absolutely want to pick him up at that price, but if he comes off the bench and plays 20, 30 minutes because he's still got hamstring issues, then I just can't see myself bringing him in this week.
Well, this is the lowest price he will be though at 23
Yeah.
break even. So I think it's kind of if you want to maximize price, and he'll probably get a 45 off the bench if he stays there and just be like, I'll cop that 45 and hope he starts again.
It depends on his minutes, though, right?
Yeah,
Right? Like if he's off the bench, like you see there, round two, came off the bench for 30 minutes, only scored a 20. He could do that again, or he could get 50, or he could get named late and be starting. You don't really know, and it's hard to make trade decisions when you're waiting for the game on Saturday.
yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that's one that you probably avoid this week and maybe buy in round 13 after his buy.
Yeah.
Stafford Toll, when playing with Galvin, he absolutely kills it this season. But now that he had a low score there and has a highest break even, is it one that you give him another week to see if he can find that average of 48 again, and then if he doesn't move him on, or you moving him on this week, has he maxed out in price?
Yeah, I think you have to give him one more week. He's only got a break even of 30 odds, so he could easily hit that this week, especially with Galvin back. I would hold one more week just to see how it pans out. And the worst case scenario is he scores you like a 20, drops maybe 10-ish K, but he's still worth 500K. So I don't think there's a huge negative in holding him for one more week, especially with Galvin back, because he does like playing down that side of the field, Galvin. So yeah.
Yeah, and he is playing incredible football, Stafford Toa. So he's gone like 450s as a centre. It's probably one that maybe you loop in your centres if like you're own a Katoga, for example, and maybe loop him with a Purdue. But yeah, do you think that now that Purdue has gone those big scores in a row, 4 of them, do you think he's one that you can play now, or is it still a risk there?
I think it's still a risk, but I think against certain teams you play him, and this week against the Titans is one of those ones where you will lock him in. I think pretty good points scored against for the Titans, so I think you can easily pick up Purdue this week and lock him into your starting 17. I will maybe not pick him up. If you already have him, you'd play him, but if you don't have him, you're not probably going to buy him. But you could definitely play Purdue this week. I think it's pretty likely he gets some sort of attacking return, whether that's a couple of line breaks or a try here and there. So yeah, I think lock him in.
I think we've seen the Cowboys hit much better form the last couple of weeks. I've seen his scoring and being a Drinkwater. I know I've seen Drinkwater scoring go up too, and I think for both of them that day, now you can probably not reliably play Purdue, but you can play him and probably hope for a 30 at worst, I'd say.
Yeah, I think he's getting to that stage now where his base stats are going to pretty much cover that at least 30 base, which is what you want from a center, at least a 30 score. But then, yeah, the attacking returns, you want him to be hitting up towards the 50s and 60s, which he can definitely do, and he's shown that he can do.
Yeah, definitely. And then another player there is Nick Meaney back this week. Ryan Papenhuyzen has been killing it. First of all, do you think he is in contention for that New South Wales #1 spot?
Papenhuyzen, no, I don't think so. I think Edwards has probably still got that spot at the moment. Although Tedesco, I mean, it's going to be Tedesco or Edwards. I don't think Papenhuyzen's going to be there in the picture yet.
He's playing incredible football.
He could be, but I just don't see it yet. Although they do have a new coach, so you never say never when it comes to Origin selections.
Yeah, you don't really know, but do you think that he's still a buy now, or is it that he was a buy when Meaney went down and had the goal kicking?
Yeah, exactly what you said. He's a buy when Meaney went down. Now with Meaney back, it's questionable whether he takes over the kicking again, Meaney, but I think that most likely he will. This is where Josh and I actually differ in our opinions. He thinks that Papenhuyzen holds the kicking. I think it's just going to go straight back to Meaney just because of how good his kicking was and how consistent he was. So
yeah.
I think he missed the boat on Papenhuyzen.
He has been kicking pretty well, though, there, to be fair, for Ryan.
Yeah, but they've been scoring lots of points as well, the Storm. Yeah. So yeah, you can't really blame him for slotting them over from right under the posts.
But now that he's lost his kicking, do you think that he becomes close to a sell now?
Oh, that's a big question. I think you probably give him another week because I think his break even is pretty low, right?
34.
34? Yeah, I think you probably give him at least another week. I wouldn't say he's a sell by any means, especially if the Storm keeps scoring well. Whether he's going to be up there as like one of the best winger fullbacks in the comp, I still think is very questionable. It's just he has a lot of demerits, unfortunately, Papenhuyzen, with his attacking stats. So yeah.
Yeah. And the problem is the wing fullback spot is so hard to fill. And another guy that you couldn't move to, is Latrell playing at centre or 5'8" this week?
No, he's named at fullback. They did a big reshuffle, the Rabbitohs, and Latrell's back in the #1 shirt. And one that I am watching with interest, but I'm not going to pull the trigger on him just yet, especially considering they're playing the Storm this week.
Yeah. What about so Jai Gray's dropped?
He's back to 14. He's on the bench.
All right. I didn't check the team list because I was on an aeroplane. But yeah, so do you think that Latrell now, if Papenhuyzen, for example, was to go low this week and then Latrell was to go low and go down or go show signs but still lose money, get like a 60 odd, is Latrell one that you'd look at straight swapping for a Papenhuyzen, or do you think he's locked in at the centre spot for New South Wales?
Yeah, big questions you're throwing, Will. I would definitely consider that because that is a great upgrade if you can go Papenhuyzen to Latrell, as long as Latrell holds that fullback spot, is obviously questionable as well. Do I think he's going to get named for New South Wales? Probably. He's just that good of a player that he's kind of a shoe-in to get selected, Latrell. It's so hard to do though, because Papenhuyzen is still a gun. Like, but in his own rights, he's still one of the better winger fullbacks in the comp. But Latrell is just next level, and there's a reason he started at 800k this year, Latrell. So if you can get up to him, I think I would pull that trade.
Yeah, and like you look at it, he hasn't been getting many attacking stats either for Latrell Mitchell. Like he usually gets a lot more attacking stats. So you kind of say those kick meters probably fall off, but Latrell gets them back in attacking stats. Like there's a matter of time where Latrell will score massive tries there. Like he's a player that goes on streaks, isn't he?
Yeah, he'll lose the kick meters, but he'll gain that in meters gained. He'll gain
Yeah.
that in tackle busts. Just him taking on the line a lot more. He'll pick up those stats pretty naturally in his game.
So I think it's probably one you watch this week, and if he gets show the 60 and show some good signs, it's probably one that you bring in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping he has another lackluster game just so he gets as cheap as possible, and I can maybe upgrade like a Tamale to him in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's like a very tough wing fullback spot this week or this year, especially with Jaden Campbell being out also. Do you
Yep.
think he is one that you got to sell now?
Yeah, 4 to 5 weeks is too
Yeah.
long. I think the limit that I have on holds, especially for players that are over 600k, is probably 3 weeks. Anything over 3 weeks, and yeah, you've got to trade him out.
And what other wing fullbacks would you look at? So for me, I'd probably look at a Scott Drinkwater, but doesn't play around 12, a Jacob Kiraz, not many others there that I probably want to give a couple more weeks to there for Jaden Campbell.
Yeah, there's not a ton of consistent ones at the moment in fullbacks. Kiraz, like you said, and Drinkwater, yeah, he's a pretty good buy. I think one that I'm seeing a lot of coaches go to is Fletcher Sharp at the
Yeah,
Knights. He's been, and they've got a good buy schedule. The Knights, he's been kind of consistent. Even with the Knights' poor form, he's been scoring quite well, still getting around the 30 to 40 mark. Smashed out a 60 last week as well, which is awesome to see. But he's, yeah, when the Knights are in form and with Dylan Lucas back, I can see Fletcher Sharp bouncing back to getting, regular 50s, 60s again. Still at a decently, I wouldn't say great price because he's at 660k, so he's still kind of expensive. But with the scores that he brings in, yeah, I think he's not too bad of a winger fullback option, especially with the duel, similar to Campbell.
yeah. The only problem for me is doesn't have a massive base. Like he doesn't have those. He's
No
defending
kick
well,
meters.
but he
Yeah,
doesn't have those kick meters, and he does run for about 100-ish meters, but he kind of needs those attacking stats to go big, big, like to get those
correct.
60 and 70s.
Yeah.
So you saw that one game against the Bulldogs where he got that 36 and he had pretty much no attacking stats there.
Yeah, but if you're getting a 36 out of him as a base, like as a
Yeah,
winger fullback, Ponga is doing worse than that. So like you can't
yeah,
be too harsh against him. Like as a winger fullback, if your lowest score is a mid 30s, you kind of take that. Even Teddy goes lower than that on a bad day with the Roosters. So
yeah. And
yeah.
I do think it's only a matter of time until they find their form again.
Yeah, exactly. With Lucas back, I think I don't know why. I've got just a gut feeling that it's just going to flick like a switch and they're going to be just back at it again this week and they'll
Yeah.
towel up the Warriors a bit.
So, what's there to do with Lachlan Hubner? Obviously, had a good PPM on the weekend, and he probably has won that lock position. Do you think that he's a hold or one that if you want to make trades elsewhere, you can trade him and then go to a Savala, for example?
Yeah, ideally you'd hold Hubner, but if you can use the cash that he's made already to go up to some of the guys we've been talking about in a Couchman or a Kiraz or whatever, you kind of want to take that cash and make that trade because you are going to get the points from it. Hubner's still got cash to make, especially if he holds that lock spot. He's probably still got another 80 to 150-ish K to make, depending on his scores. But it's the immediate return you get from trading him trading him down to Savala and then trading someone else up to Couchman. So you've got to kind of weigh that up for your team if you prefer points now or you prefer making the cash. So yeah, to each their own.
He's still got a break even of 27. The only problem is he doesn't play around 12.
Yeah, that too.
So, what is there to do with Tom Jenkins now? Do you think his cash is done? Break even of 29, and the Panthers have looked better the last couple of weeks with a solid draw there, but he's gone a 28 and a 20 the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's killing us, Jenkins. The last 2 weeks, even though it says center there, he actually played on the wing in round 6. So the last 2 games he's played, he's been on the wing. It's so hard because he playing in a Panthers team that's in form, obviously, and you'd happily take a winger fullback, a center, you take an edge, you take anyone from a Panthers team, basically, that's basement price because you know they're going to score well. Jenkins, on the other hand, with a poor Panthers team on the wing, just hasn't been getting those stats. We probably won't see him coming to center again, considering they threw Garner in there at some point, and they're happier with Casey McLean at center than him. It's a tough decision. I'm holding for one more week just because I don't think I can trade him up to anyone of value. I just don't have enough cash. But if you can trade him up to a Kiraz, I would do that trade this week. But if you're stuck with him for one more week, you kind of just have to bite the bullet, unfortunately, and take it. If you can loop him, I'd do that, but it's going to be very hard considering they play on the Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, in a 40-12 victory, you do expect for him to get a couple attacking stats there, but
Yeah, something.
I think they're playing Manly, who put on a shit show the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they've been rough.
And I think, you know, I think the fairy tale for Jenkins is probably finished, but it very much could come back.
Yeah, Manly with Turbo back, it could be similar with like the same situation that Parramatta are in this week where Moses came back and they just all of a sudden find their groove and hit form.
He is yet to score a try this season, though, Jenkins.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was scoring well without scoring tries, which was good to see, but it seems like that's dried up a bit. I think ideally probably give him one more week just to see how he pans out, but it's not looking great.
Yeah. And then Ponga at 606K, he killed it at the very start of the season there, but has dropped off a bit. Showed some signs with that 38 on the weekend that you'll probably take. 5 missed tackles there and 2 errors. Not amazing, but do you think Ponga's still one you hold? And do you think he is going to get that fullback spot for Queensland?
Good question as well, with Walsh being a bit out of form.
And injured now.
Yeah, and injured. I think Walsh will be back by Origin. He'll be pushing it, but yeah, he's definitely potential to get selected, Ponga, and they probably will have him in the team list somewhere, given how close Walsh is to his, like, he's only just returning on the eve of Origin, so most likely Ponga will be there even as a reserve.
What about a Jai Gray, maybe? If
he's already been dropped to the bench, so
he's played well this season.
That too, yeah. And he's second on the Dally M, Jai Gray, so we've got to give him some credit. All definite options. Do I think Gray's going to come in this early? Probably not. Ponga's probably the most likely. I wouldn't sell Ponga by any means at this point.
Yeah.
By the way, the fact that Lucas is back and you look at his 2 scores with Lucas in the team from round 1 and 2, and the fact that he is so cheap, you've lost all that cash on him already, and he's an outright gun. He's going to be one of the best winger fullbacks this year. Yeah, you're holding on to Ponga at this point. You wouldn't sell him. You'd wait to see what happens with Origin selections. But even then, I think he's one that you're probably holding through Origin selections anyway.
Yeah, he has a 64 average when playing with Dylan Lucas there.
Yeah.
And 600K, like I'm saying, that if you had Ponga at 600K, you'd almost consider buying him.
Yep, he's on my watch list at the moment because I do not have him. I'm waiting one more week and then
I'm a holder of him. And for me, I think it's one that you kind of got to bite the bullet and just be like, he's gone on a terrible run, but the Knights have to play better. He has to play better. Like, he's such a good player that it's like one run from Ponga and he gets that 38 into a 55.
Yeah, exactly. It only takes one, like even like little jink across the defensive line where he pushes off 1 or 2 players and breaks 3 or 4 tackles, that's all it takes to give him another 15, 20 points. So yeah.
And he is becoming a little bit of a pod in that top 5,000, still 44%, but top 1,000 only owned by 33 there.
Yeah, that's definitely because of the recency of his bad scores, but he would definitely be highly owned if you looked at probably the top 10,000. I reckon he's probably closer to 50%. Well,
the rule is you don't sell a keeper, and you
Correct.
Didn't sell Cleary, he came well. You didn't sell Watson, he came well, and Ponga hasn't come well yet, but
he will.
It's trending that way that it will.
It's a matter of time.
Yeah, and then Isaiah Iongi, who killed it on the weekend, game style, like he got 2 tries there, and probably got killed from that sin bin where he was probably on for a 55 there.
Yep.
Fairy tale, as you said, hold him until Moses is back. Has shown some better signs the last couple of weeks. Do you think now that Moses is back with him playing round 12 that he is a hold?
Yep. You're holding on to Iongi if you've still got him. If you don't have him, you're probably not bring him in because it's too big of a risk. But if you've got him, you're going to be cheering in a couple of weeks. Like with Mitch Moses back, Parramatta looks so much better. Yes, Iongi got sin bin, but like you said, he was on for a 6 score. Like he would have been around the 50 mark for sure. Obviously, you'd want a bit higher with 2 tries, but that's only going to come with experience for Iongi. So yeah, I'd give him the benefit of the doubt. I'd be holding him and hopefully watching the cash roll in. He should probably be a sell at around the 5 to 550K mark, I'd imagine. But yeah, that should happen probably around 13, 14-ish. I reckon he'll get to that stage.
Yeah, and for Iongi, he's like such a good player. Like he's kind of like Ponga. He makes one run and he's off. Like
Yeah,
he's so
exactly.
quick, so elusive in that, and he has Moses there to set him up.
Yeah. I think it's
But
only a matter of time before we see a big game from him.
yeah, and he's always ran some very good meters too, which shows good signs that he's running those big meters.
Yeah.
Now, one that's I've been a bit iffy with the last couple of weeks, he's putting up very good scores, 54 average for the season, is Corey Horsburgh. Those minutes the last 3 weeks, 51, 45, and 48. He's still gone 50s, but for me, it screams red flag, and I think he's going to get selected for Origin. Do you think that you have to give Horsburgh another week, or is it if you have the cash and you want to upgrade elsewhere, it's a luxury trade, or is it one that you can get around trading?
Yeah, he's big red. God, gotta love him. You look at his scores, like it. How consistent can you be? Just smashing out 50s every week. I am definitely holding on to him. It's a
Yeah,
luxury trade at this stage to get rid of Big Red. If he can give you 50 points every week, you're taking that until he probably caps out around the 700K mark. But I wouldn't be moving him on until probably Origin. He gets moved on at that point. But yeah, you just take those scores week in, week out. He's so reliable, you can't really move him on.
yeah, I do think he will play Origin too. They're just playing so well as he is.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
But like, yeah, you take 50 from him every day of the week.
Yep.
And then yeah, two to go. Alex Safer, three to go. Sorry, Alex Safer, 47 break even. Did get that try to save his score. I'm one that you don't sell him yet because he has a good base. Like he made 37 tackles there, and you know what he can do in the attacking side. Do you think that Safer is one you can sell, or sell him round 12 when he's got that bye?
I think I'd sell him off now, to be honest. That try really did save his score in the end. Otherwise, he would have been, low 30s. Yeah, I've definitely sold him this week to move up to Couchman, but I can understand why you'd want to keep him. He does have those games where he can give you a line break and give you some attacking stats. But I think the cash train's unfortunately run out for Seyfarth, and I don't know if Galvin being back's gonna help him.
Yeah, don't really do much for him there. And yeah, I do think he has made enough cash to consider moving on. Still a break even of 47 too, which probably means he's going to start bleeding cash.
Yeah.
And then Kayatoga there, low on the weekend, 16 points, killed us, played him in the centres. Did play 80 minutes there. Do you think that he's one you can sell, or will Moses back be better for him too?
Yeah, a bit of a weird one for Katonga. I've got a feeling because Moses was back, it detracted from his scores because they were going to Moses's side a lot of the time, and that was Tulangi's side. With Kelma out and Katonga going back to that edge, I think he'll be a lot better because he did move edges with Kelma back. So I think he's a hold, and we'll see how he pans out in the next couple of weeks. But he's still got a low break even, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
29.
29.
I think you've still got cash to make with him. It'll just be weird to see what the combination is when they have everyone back, when Kelmer's back, when Moses is back in, when they have their
Yeah.
whole team together, because it's changing week to week now. The Parramatta spine, sorry, not the Parramatta spine, the Parramatta forward pack. So yeah, you don't really know what our starting 13, to be honest, is.
Yeah, and he's been scoring really well when playing on a second row too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends what edge he's playing on because he was next to Dylan Brown for a lot of the time when Moses was out, and then he moved edges when Moses was back to accommodate Kelma, and now he's moving back to his original side. So yeah, we'll see how it all pans out next week when they're back.
Yeah, and then Hudson Young, 815K. He's been killing it this year. I think he's going to play Origin. Do you think that he could be a top tier gun and if you needed an edge to buy him, or is it just way too expensive to buy Hudson considering he's gone double and double the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, there's a reason that the top 5,000 are at about 3% owned with Hudson because he is so inconsistent normally with his scores. He'll get you an 81 week, but he will also get you a 30 the next. So this year he's been absolutely killing it, but at 800K, there's no way I could pull the trigger on bringing him in, especially with Origin looming because of how good his form has been. He will probably get selected on the bench. He's just so inconsistent at times. So I think I'd avoid Young, especially at that price.
Yeah, and then the last player I want to talk about, Jahrome Hughes. He is back this week, isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah, I do think he is.
To be honest, he hasn't been on my radar that much, Jahrome Hughes. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
But at 600K, with a couple of injury affected games there, Do you have any interest in Jahrome at all for 600K? It's a bargain of a price for him.
Yeah, very cheap, but not yet. He would definitely be good if he can show a bit more form. His last couple of scores, like you look at them there, they're not great. I think you'd need to see a lot more from him before you pick him up. So I'm going to be avoiding Hughes for now. I
Something
think
I've
if he gets a couple 50s in a row over the next 2 weeks, then I might consider him. But until we see that, probably not.
something I've noticed is too. He's lost 130 kick meters
Yeah,
over from this season to last season, which is probably because Munster's there a bit more this season kicking.
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, if he can get down to 550K with two major bye weeks, probably won't pick him up. But if by round 16, if he's 550K, 500K even, and that's probably a place to pick him up there with no buys left for the rest of the season.
Yeah, you might take a punt on him then. It just depends how his form kind of pans out this year because he's kind of been in the background considering how good Munster's been and how good Papenhuyzen's been. He hasn't really had to do much, to be honest. So, yeah, he definitely had a lot more on his shoulders last year when Munster was still recovering from the groin injury he had and Papenhuyzen was in and out of the squad. Like, yeah, it was a lot more on his shoulders, and that's why his scores were compensating for it. Now that all their guns are back, he doesn't really need to do as much. So, I think he's one that we're going to have to watch and wait and see if he's even worth buying this year.
Yeah, and then yeah, so that's pretty much does us. Do you have any players you want to talk about or any last comments?
Not too many, to be honest, I'll talk about. I think the one trade that people have to be careful of this week is Sandon Smith and Savala. I think if you're going for Savala, you have to get rid of Sandon Smith really because you can't have too many Roosters players, considering they've got a bye coming up. So one to keep an eye on because you don't want to be stuck with like 5 or 6 Roosters players in your squad because I know a lot of people have White, have Wong, have Toya, all these guys. So just be very careful of how many Roosters players you're picking up.
Yeah, because they've got that buy in round 10 there.
Yep. And then they've got a pretty good buy schedule over the Origin period because they don't have any of the major or minor buy rounds. They have the buys in between in round 14 and 17 when every other team's back. So they are good to have during that period because they play all the major and minor buys, but they don't play in between either. So you've just kind of got to make sure you have a good even distribution of players across teams over this period.
Yeah, which is probably why like players like Nafafu White probably holds until the end of that buy round at least.
Yeah, I think so. Naf White's going to be actually pretty valuable, and his scores have been unreal. I honestly didn't think he'd turn out to be such a good scorer this year. I thought he'd be okay, maybe high 40s, but he's been smashing out 50s and even higher in some weeks. So
Yeah,
good on you for having him.
yeah. Thanks for watching, and yeah, see you in the next one.
Cheers, Will.